Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Saturday night edition of LFC Transfer Room. It is the match preview, a massive game at Tottenham Hotspur tomorrow, where Liverpool really could do with a win after Arsenal have just thumped Crystal Palace 5-1. I'm joined today by three wonderful guests. I'm joined with CT, Willem, and Craig. And we were just talking off air. Willem's been out on the sesh. He's been enjoying the festive activities. So please, no one shout in the comments or lads, if you could just keep the volume down. His ears are a little bit tender. But I'm really hoping that it's worth it and another sesh tomorrow, maybe Super Sunday, and Liverpool could make it an extremely super Christmas and perhaps finish top of the tree as well. Let's go round and see how the lads are. CT, you're to the right of me. So how are you?
I'm doing well, Richie. Great to be with you. Salute, lads, and looking forward to the weekend. Entertaining game. I think it's going to be, a couple draws recently. So I want to get back to a win in the league.
Yeah, and to be fair, we saw what Tottenham can do over the past couple of weeks. They are a Jekyll and Hyde team. We'll look into that, but their performance, obviously at their gaff as well in midweek, that 4-3 thriller against Manchester United. So they are a dangerous team. Willem, how are you? Apart from obviously the fragilities, how are you?
Yeah, no, I'm all good for the rest. I'm more nervous actually now than I kind of was in the last couple of days towards this game. But I think it's more like, as in, I just kind of the draws have kind of now gotten me into a point where I'm mentally like, okay, we really need to win this game now. So I'm kind of in a double. I'm good, but I'm constantly thinking about it now.
Yeah, and Ange, anything could happen with this Tottenham team.
Yeah.
I don't think they're good enough to win the league, because I don't think you can defend the way in which you do and win a Premier League the way they do. So, but on their day, they could beat anybody, and I think they showed they're more than capable of banging 4 goals. I know it's Manchester United and they're pretty garbage, but they can still very much threaten. Craig, how are you? I'm loving the Batman backdrop.
Is it pure geek? Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I hope you're okay too. I'm the same as Willem, really. So, like, earlier in the week, I was just thinking we're just going to blitz them. Like, you saw like how open they were against United, and then I was just kind of like, I know they got through the game only just, but as time's ticking on, I'm getting more nervous. Even though, like, I know we got like luck against us in the fixture last season, wasn't it? Away when Diaz was just kind of like just clean through by like 3 yards or whatever. But there's just something about this Spurs team, even though we've rinsed them. Probably was last time we got beat away, 2017 or something, after last season. So it should be quite a straightforward game, but for some reason I feel a bit nervous about.
And like I said, it's just Tottenham. They can do anything. They can stick 4 past you in the first 10 minutes, or they can concede 4 in the first 10 minutes. You just never know what you're going to get. What you will get is obviously like an Ange team that's going to be bang up for it, aren't they? They are going to be high, after the win against Manchester United. Let's not forget we face them in a couple of weeks as well, over a 2-leg League Cup semi-final tie as well. But yeah, Tottenham have only won 2 of their last 25 clashes with Liverpool in all competitions. They've drawn 6 and lost 17. So they don't have a very good record. But all of that stuff goes out the window, doesn't it? Let's not think it's going to keep going that way easily. It's going to be one of those. I hope it's an absolute barnstormer. I can see there being goals flying left, right, and centre, and hopefully the Reds come out on top like they have done. Tottenham could actually win consecutive home league games against Liverpool for the first time since 2008 and 2012. So yeah, it doesn't happen very often. Beating us at their place over the course of 2 seasons. So, CT, let's just very quickly then talk about, before we get into Liverpool, let's talk about the opposition, because we've just seen Arsenal dismantle a Crystal Palace team, which they're not at their best. They're not the Crystal Palace of last season. I think they were perhaps at the start of the season people's underdogs to do well, and they haven't. I think they've fallen flat on their face, really. Haven't really lived up to any of the hype or expectation. Chelsea play tomorrow against a very good Fulham team that we obviously are very aware of. I think that they should come out with some points there. So Liverpool could actually start the game in second place. What's going on around us? I mean, we'll talk about City in a moment. we're talking about the chasing pack, though. I think if we get a result tomorrow, I think that's it. We could wave goodbye to City in our rearview mirror, if I'm honest. I'm not speaking too soon because Manchester City have that capability of just going on a run, but I think their problems run much deeper. We will talk about City later. What are your thoughts on Arsenal and Chelsea as challengers, CT, for this Premier League title that Liverpool are literally in the hunt for?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Chelsea recently, and I think they've definitely put themselves in the race. But I don't consider them a contender. I think Arsenal. I think it's a two-horse race right now. I'd love to hear what the lads think. But yeah, I think missing out on the Merseyside derby, that getting postponed has really kind of caused a bit of chaos around Chelsea getting closer and game in hands and all those kind of things when the games are coming thick and fast. So like the lad said, we have to just take care of business on the weekend, get the win, and kind of put Chelsea back in their place a little bit, because I think the closer they get, the more their fans are going to perk up a bit. But yeah, I don't consider them a real threat. I think it's a long season. Similar to Tottenham, I don't think Chelsea defend to the level where what's required to get the 90 points or so, and I think we're still in the box seat. We'd love to strengthen in January, but I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit. But I think a win on the weekend, it goes a long way to really putting the onus back on Arsenal and Chelsea. So yeah, Arsenal are the only threat for me. Impressive win today, but you look at it like you said, how good are Palace right now? I think interesting what they're doing with Jesus, though. It looks like he's got a bit of a resurgence, and I don't know if he's going to be a factor coming in, but they did need some goal scoring.
I think as well, massive blow if Saka does look to be out for a couple of weeks, and it looked like a hamstring injury to him, so you could probably expect to see Jesus there. I think they'll come up against better teams where perhaps Saka's presence will be more missed today in that second half. Willem, what is it about Arsenal that makes them a threat? We all talk about the set pieces. Obviously, they grabbed one again today from a set piece, didn't they? So what is it that makes them a threat? They're not like a Manchester City. They're just like that annoying little brother that won't go away, and they just won't leave you alone to get on with your own things. Like, no, you keep swatting them away and they just keep on coming back.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's something that we do give them a lot of criticism for, but they are very pragmatic defensively, especially as well. And more in the sense of like they play safe, and in the big, like sometimes in other games it can cost them, but more often than not, it is actually also the reason why they do at least accumulate these amount of points. Like if their style of play is enough to actually win a league, is still really there to be seen. But they do have the consistency in the team itself to at least be there and thereabouts the entire time. I think that's about the most thing I can say for it, at least. You're on mute still, Richie, by the way.
Look, Richie, you're on mute, but it looked like you said my name.
Go ahead, Craig.
He's having a minute. I think he was kind of asking me what I reckon about Arsenal and Chelsea. I think Arsenal, like, it's mad, isn't it? Because as you brought up on football, you kind of think of their history in terms of like Thierry Henry, possession-based football, quick wingers. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans kind of fool themselves into thinking they're like this mini version of Man City. Move out the way of this kind of like crosshair in here. And they're not, are they? They're like a little Chelsea. They're like a little Mourinho Chelsea.
I mean, a bit of a B-Tech Chelsea more in that sense, because I mean, that team was an animal, to be fair. Like, as much as I didn't like that Chelsea team at the time. Looking back on it, it was a ridiculous team, to be fair.
Defensively sound, weren't they? With like Drogba up top, and this is what it feels like Arteta's trying to get to. Big. Every one of them is over like 6 foot, really, aren't they? Like a really, really big physical team. They don't play anything like City. To be honest, I don't think Blackpool play like City at the minute, but I don't think they play anything like the fans think they do. I do think that they'll be the ones who run us closest this season, Arsenal, just because they are so pragmatic, aren't they? They get the goals from a lot of set pieces, all over 6'5". I don't think it's attractive, but I know they scored a lot of goals today against Palace. But that said, I don't think anyone would bang goals in against Palace the way they were today. I think Chelsea will drop away. I think they're massively outperforming their XG at the minute, aren't they? I don't think when they played, who did they play the other day?
Brentford.
Brentford, when they played Brentford the other day, Brentford had a number of clean through efforts, didn't they? I see them dropping away. I think there'll be always an Arsenal going for it. I don't see. It's funny because I know we'll probably come on to City later, but I was thinking before, like I saw the tweet. Oh, maybe it was in our chat really that Pep's never had to do a rebuild.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, so he's at Barca, he's got the most gifted player in world football, hasn't he? And then he goes to Bayern, and it's just it's just the kind of like one team league there. They just purchased anyone they wanted, whether it be Götze, just taken from the rivals. And then he goes to a City team that had already got Champions League qualification and floods of money. He's never had to rebuild. He just generally goes. And that I saw that comment on our chat a little bit before and thought about it. And I'll stop talking in a minute. But when Klopp was with us last season, and there was a lot of kind of talk around who's the better pound for pound manager, Klopp or Guardiola. Well, Klopp's constantly had to rebuild, hasn't he? Because he's had his resources pulled away time and time again, whether it be Mainz or Dortmund or with us with Coutinho. Pep's never had to. And this is what happens. So now he's got a bit of an aging team. He's stayed a little bit longer. And the results are shocking, aren't they? That said, watch them go on a friggin' 20-game run now, but, you know.
They will do after January. Yeah, I think so. I'm just not going to mute every time.
Absolutely dinked them, haven't I?
No, I don't know if it's a connection or something, but it's like we're getting back just for a sec. The worst thing is he sat there connected the entire time whilst you were talking before, and it's now when he's gotten his 5 seconds to talk where it's not gone again.
What do you reckon? Like, I know we'll probably come on to it later, but what do you reckon the biggest issue is with City right now? I know it's easy to say.
I think it's an aging squad. I think apart from Rodri, I think even with Rodri, a couple of games they were playing, like they started off very well, but they're worse. And if you watched a couple of their games, even with Rodri, they didn't seem as stable as it is. And like normally you get it at the start of every season when they have a bit of a slower start that you look like, oh, Man City don't really look the same. But there were already small patterns with him in the squad where I was like, okay, those aren't things they normally do. And I did think last summer only getting Savinho in wasn't good enough. Like they have an aging De Bruyne, you know, Foden had this one real amazing season, but then dropped off from a Euros tournament. Doku is a winger who is literally like, he will do 1,000 movements in front of you like that and then not do anything. So I think it's more things that weren't addressed really going around it. Obviously, Alvarez being sold as well and not really being replaced. Like, I think they kind of just pushed on their issues and now they're all coming together at once. And they obviously have the charges coming up as well, which is why I also think that they're not going to be signing pretty like anyone easily in January because any player with a logical thinking sense at least would at least wait until the summer because even Guardiola himself said we expect to hear something around February, March. Well, why not wait till the summer then once we know it's safe? So I think I can't really see him do much in January either.
I think Rafa's kind of said a good point in the chat, hasn't he? He's just put the knackered. And I remember when kind of like Klopp said his long goodbye to us, didn't he? And there was a lot of kind of pressure on Guardiola, wasn't it? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And he looked tired then. Now he just looks like he looks a bit hysterical, doesn't he, at times now, the way he's kind of composed himself. City, what do you reckon the big problem is at City?
Yeah, I think he hasn't faced that kind of adversity, whereas, you know, Klopp had to do a couple of rebuilds and, you know, come in and clean things up. And I think Pep has reached maybe the end of just that cycle where I think physically, emotionally exhausted. But yeah, I got to look at Phil Foden. I'm thinking he's young, he's fallen off a cliff. You know, with Rodri out, he should be someone stepping up, but he hasn't. And I think, you know, a lot more finger pointing should be on him. You don't go from, you know, player of the year, player of the season to being non-existent. I mean, I've never seen that before. Like, what's the go with him?
Foden just seems pretty much like he's a quality player if your squad's playing well, isn't he? Like if everyone's playing well, then Foden looks quality, shiny, scores a lot of goals. If you're struggling to edge out results, he's just like. But the problem I suppose you've got is you've got him and Haaland, who are probably quite similar in that kind of like work ethic way. And if the game's getting on top of you, Haaland doesn't dig in, does he? He just goes missing. I saw the stat before. I think again it was in our chat. Hasn't he had something like all he's done in the last 3 games is 19 passes, no shots, not even off target.
I'm gonna give Richie his moment here before he disconnects again. Like, come on,
I know.
Richie,
I'll stop talking.
No, please. No, it's fine. I don't know what's happening with my internet because all my other like browsers are rapid. So I've got no idea what's going on with StreamYard. But anyway, alas, it happens. Going back what you were saying about Pep, I generally don't think he's bought very well recently. I think Savinho has not hit the heights. Doku is atrocious. Like he's got no end finish. He's just a hyped up Adama Traore.
Matheus Nunes horrible as well.
Yeah, and Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish. Again, it's just nuts. But these players aren't bad players. They're just not fitting the Pep system, which is what you were saying about Foden. He's a system player. That's why he doesn't shine for England because it's not a system that's built around him. He doesn't have De Bruyne or he doesn't have Rodri behind him. So he doesn't have necessarily that protection around him. So therefore, yes, it is a system and Pep has to rebuild a system, but he's only got one system. So therefore, when you don't have the players to build that system, it does make your transfers a lot harder. I think Kovacic is probably one of his best signings actually in recent years. And who would have thought that? Matej Kovacic being one of his best signings. So I'm sure they'll get back banging soon. But yeah, strange things happening, strange things. I did see actually that all 115 charges were actually going to be dropped because Man City have decided to relegate themselves. So there's that. Let's crack on then with the match preview. You've got 1,317 of us joining, so please do make sure you give us a like and a subscribe, and you have your notifications turned on for all future streams and videos. The big one for me, really, with the Tottenham news coming out, is that the left back Destiny Udogie is expected to return after overcoming a minor thigh injury. I was and ahhing actually. I was like, well, if he's in, he cuts inside and he's inverted fullback, and he doesn't do it with anywhere near as much class and flair as what Trent does, and therefore he leaves that area exposed. I thought, well, if he plays, he plays, and if he's got a knock, even better. For me, he is a good player, though. I do like Udogie. I think he's a good player. I think if you would have a manager who is perhaps more disciplined in the defensive side, you would see a lot better left back defensively. But again, his job is to create, same as Porro as well. Again, once they've got Romero and Mickey van der Ven back, they don't tomorrow. Maybe you don't see Dragusin and Archie Gray get exposed as well. So, yeah, it'll be a really interesting one to see what team they pick out. Timo Werner, ex-Liverpool link, massively linked, weren't we, with him when he was at RB Leipzig. He is available for selection, but obviously with all of the issues going around with him and Ange at the minute and the Tottenham fans, I'm not sure whether he'll feature too much. Liverpool's only real issues are defenders Connor Bradley and Ibrahima Konate. They've still struggling with hamstring and knee problems respectively, but at the same time, they're not back in training, which is good because it means that Kostas is back in training. We've got Jota back, who we saw obviously last week, and we've got Chiesa, who had a I thought he played all right in the League Cup game against Southampton. He was a bit slow to get going, but then when he did, I thought he played well. So Liverpool actually could look like their bench tomorrow could be extremely strong with Harvey Elliott coming back, and I thought he was phenomenal as well. Coming back, didn't look like he missed a beat. So, Liverpool, talking about them, and we will talk about them before we get onto Spurs, they are luckily / it's been about time for all the injuries that we've had in the Klopp era, be able to pick what is almost a full bill. Now, again, you could argue a case for Bradley, but Konate would definitely start, wouldn't he, really, in the real world? So Liverpool really missing only Konate, but Bradley off the bench is phenomenal. And also Bradley starting when deputising for Trent has been phenomenal. So they are two big players, but, Tottenham's crisis of Davis, Romero, Van der Ven, the goalkeeper Vicario, all being out is pretty significant for them. So CT, what does your defence look like tomorrow? Let's start from back to front and let's talk about that Liverpool defence before I get cut off again.
Yeah, I think momentum coming out of the League Cup game. We've got a lot of guys rested. First teamers, we had Verge. Obviously, we had Gravy get rested as well. Simi came on for a little cameo. So I think, I think obviously Ali's back in goal. I think Trent, obviously, I think Gomez, Verge, and I think Robbo. I think Robbo assumes his spot back. I think Simi's healthy now, though. Got a little run, but I think he'll just be a little bit underdone to come in and start. I think Robbo, I think the coach will back him, and he's got the trust of the coach despite what happened, although it shouldn't have been a red card, but he has made a couple of errors in consecutive weeks. But I think the experience, and he'll bounce back. But I think that'll be my back four. I think Gomez still, I think, is ahead of Kwanzaa just for that central role. And then, I'd love to know what your thoughts on maybe Endo playing that more in the league games as well, in the League Cup, sorry, not in the league games, but maybe even coming on late in games to help see the game out a bit more. Do you think he might have a little bit more trust in the coach?
I hope so, because I ever since Endo came to Liverpool, he's given nothing but pure heart. They call him the Japanese warrior. I think that he's great. I would love for him to actually, if we're protecting a lead, I like it when he comes on and acts as a third centre back. So he is a 6, but he's almost like a 4 as well. He's almost like John Stones who moves into midfield, but he quickly goes back in defence. I like him in that role. Offers so much protection. And also what it does is it does allow the fullbacks to continue to push as well, to expose anyone on the break. What do we think, Willem, about Robertson going perhaps up against Kulusevski? Because Kulusevski's got 4 in 4 consecutive games, 4 consecutive goals. He is a man on fire. He's the danger man, actually, for me. A lot of people might say Solanke after his brace midweek. A lot of people, obviously, would say Son. But I think Kulusevski makes them tick. And him up against Robertson, who is... I think he'll come out raring to go. But in his head, he'll know he's given away 2 penalties. He's been sent off. It's not been his best season.
No, it's... I'm not too happy about it, to be in that sense. But... we have to also kind of make do with what we have at the moment. Like, Tsimikas isn't fit enough. Now, do I think Tsimikas is that drastically better of an upgrade on Robertson in Robertson's kind of current patch and form? Probably not either. Like, for me personally, it's actually shifted from an extra DM to more of a left back to go in January to get. I think we do have to kind of address it soon if we, at least for me, to win the league. Because for me, Robbo has made way too many mistakes throughout the whole season now, and it's not just been a blip of 1 or 2 kind of moments that he's had. It's not like where Saka's just torn him apart in the Arsenal part, where he could have done better defensively, but it's Saka. Saka's a very good player. You can expect it happening. It's like the penalty against Southampton, whether it was in or out, the challenge was just stupid. And the same goes for Madrid as well. With Madrid, as soon as you get to one of their legs in the area, these are La Liga players. They are going to go down the minute they even just feel a rush of wind next to it coming down there. And it happened again. And I think it helped a lot as well that he did have a couple of good games in between. The City game, obviously, as well. Now, also, you can kind of put an excuse for all these ones in between there, because with the City game, he was facing Rico Lewis playing as a right midfielder. It's not the toughest challenge you're going to have it in the Premier League overall. And I love Robbo, but it scares me for him to face Kulusevski, because Kulusevski has been, I'd argue, actually since Ange's probably come in, he's been their best player overall for Tottenham. And I think he could definitely turn up for the game, especially he's rested a bit more, so maybe he's at least regained a bit of athleticism. But it would be also very typical of him to have this one game now in kind of the big games, and then maybe in the next one again have it. But yeah, I am worried about Robbo, to put it in that sense. The kind of my whole rambling kind of summed up into one. Yeah.
No, and I think it's not a rambling, because you speak a lot of sense in terms of, yes, we all love the Flying Scotsman. I've said it week after week after week, and we want to see him at his best. And yes, he had a very, very good game in that Champions League game where he got man of the match. But it is, everything comes to an end. We saw it, we've seen it with Liverpool players and any player over and over and over again, which I suppose brings us to that left-back position. Alphonso Davies, apparently by CF Bayern, who is, semi-reliable, but especially so when it comes to Bayern Munich news, tweeted out that Liverpool could, I would like to say, be on the hunt, but Madrid and Manchester United are probably better placed. I think that's probably because their wage structure is not as rigid as Liverpool's. I think Alphonso Davies coming in on a free would be phenomenal. I'd be all over it. However, his wage demands might be priced out. What are we thinking about the Alphonso Davies? It makes complete sense, doesn't it? On a free, but I think it breaks the wage structure, and that's a sticking point really for me.
Is it me you're asking, or Craig, or
anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I think. I'm sorry, I'm going to take it as well, lads, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah. Craig can go after.
I think he would be. It's a weird one because technically, due to him being a free agent signing, I think the way you could almost make it acceptable is if you can negotiate a deal where he is. It's still a high fee, but it is technically what Trent is on now and Robertson. And I think if you were able to negotiate somewhere between 160 to 180, 190k a week, which is around those numbers, I think is right now what the current contract is for Trent. If I believe roundabout, I think it's 180 or something. If you manage to negotiate it around there, just for a one-time deal, because at the end of the day, you can use the excuse of not having a transfer fee to slightly upgrade it higher into there. And I think it would still, I think Davies also will have to realize that he will have to do what a Robertson did, what a Trent did, or what he aims to do himself for the next negotiation in a contract to then really get big onto it. And that's also me kind of speaking in hope because I would really like him, but I think, to be honest, I said it in the chat, any of Gerkes, Davies, Robinson, or even Hato from Ajax, I'd be happy with any of them because they're all very good players, to be honest. But if I had to pick one out of them, it would be Davies.
Yeah, he's just so sexy on the ball, and he's just so good going forwards. I would be all over it. I think it's the one that makes sense in terms of there's no signing on fee. However, if Madrid and Manchester United are in the mix, they will price us out. It depends how much I suppose Davies wants Liverpool as well, because they will price us out when it comes to contracts. Let's not kid ourselves. Craig, what do you think on that left back position then? Because for me, it was always Costas in second place, and now I'm not too sure whether it's edging more Costas in first place because of the system that obviously Arnie plays. Robertson doesn't feel as, I don't think, comfortable on the ball in terms of he just wants to run, and he has dived in a couple of times. Now, Willem said, and I agree with him, I still can't see how that was inside the box for that penalty. I looked at it so many times. I was like, I can't. It's no doubt it's a foul. The Madrid one, no doubt it's a foul. So whether they're penalties or not, I'm talking about the one that was outside the box, they're still fouls. They're still Robbo jumping in. I haven't seen Costas do that this season too much. I haven't seen him panic and jump in quite rash. What are your thoughts on that left back position?
It's hard, isn't it? Because I think everyone in the chat or everyone watching loves Robbo. For what he's done at the club, for the standards he set for years and years. But he's a Klopp left back, isn't he? Or was. So it's kind of like quick in possession, release it. So you see the Trent's Robbo pinging it across to each other as he's gobbling up 40, 50 yards at a time. We don't play that football anymore. And also he's lost a yard. So even if Klopp was still here this season, I still think he'd probably be coming up against some of the difficulties he's having now anyway. Don't think we go for Davis. I just don't think we go anywhere near that kind of transfer. I think it'd probably go more likely if it was still Klopp and the regime that we had 18 months ago. I don't think so now. I think it's more of a Kirkes, isn't it? And I think aren't Bournemouth bringing in the young South American left back as well?
Yeah.
And it's been bringing them in January, which kind of boosts potentially the option of us getting Kirkes in January as well. He's more defensively sound, isn't he? He absolutely blammied one in a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? So he's got a bit of a shot. I know it took a bit of a nick, but he's got a bit of a shot on him as well. But he's much better in possession, isn't he? And I think that the problem that Robbo's got now, I suppose, is how comfortable the centre halves and centre mids feel, just keeping hold of it and inviting pressure on. So then when you've got Gravenberg turning beautifully, and then just kind of plays the ball back when Robbo or Trent look up, they've suddenly got 2 or 3 players running at them. And previously, over the last few years, it wasn't that, was it? It was going the other way. So I think that's one kind of key difference that Robbo's potentially struggling with. He's had a good couple of games recently. I know, obviously, the sending off and blooming penalties and shouldn't be penalties. I'll be thrown in. He's done all right, but it's still a position that we need to strengthen, isn't it? I think, was it Willem? Or was it TT? I can't remember. Said that maybe the focus has gone off getting a 6 now and over to a left back. But I think both. I think both
January,
are just massively.
At least
yeah,
say. I don't expect us to make 2 signings in January.
No,
to be honest.
Well, it depends because like Zubamendi is constantly flirting again, isn't he? He's coming out constantly talking.
That's because his new contract, his new contract that Sociedad was going to put on the table for him the next day hasn't arrived, and it's like, yeah, duh.
And I literally saw quotes from an interview from him today where he was like, "Yeah, well, I thought about it. It was still better for me to stay." Blah blah. Blah. So like, I honestly, as well, at this point, just leave him out. Like, if he's going to keep on like being in debate of like, do I want to stay in my hometown or do I want to leave? Whereas he can come to Liverpool and still go back to his hometown in 10 years' time. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, look, mate, just jog on. You know,
he was on vacation. He was on vacation. He was on holiday. He couldn't think straight,
so
apparently.
Hard. Yeah, it was so tough. Really, ridiculously tough. I can't imagine. Holiday ruined. Yeah, sorry.
It's hard, isn't it, with Zubamendi? Because like we've been on that side of it. We're on it now, aren't we, with Trent? I know his contract's kind of like extending, but or potentially not, but kind of going through the ranks, massively attached to the club. You can tell it's going to be hard from whatever he kind of like does. We had it with Gerrard, didn't he, when he was flirting with working with Jose Mourinho and pulled out at the 11th hour because he said he would have showed the medals too. I get it with Zubamendi. He's obviously kind of come through the ranks at Sociedad. He's been there for a long, long time. I think he made reference, didn't he, to he knows every single staff member and stuff like that. But at the same time, we don't, Gravenberch, an exception, we don't normally come knocking a couple of times. Issue being now, there's not really many players like Zubamendi.
No.
Really.
And you can say the same for Grav as well. And also the fact that Tuchel didn't want Gravenberch, that's what made him available. The fact he was like, no, don't want him, cut price, bosh, go and get him. And I think Zubamendi's not quite at that stage, is he? He's not quite at that level. Let's talk about the midfield then, CT, because you know we have just obviously been mentioning the midfield. I've been so impressed, as everybody has. I'm sure there's no even point in mentioning it anymore about how good Gravenberch's been. McAllister's obviously back. You know, he served. He had a good week off, didn't he? He had 2 bans to serve out, so he's got fresh legs in him. I think Szoboszlai's been playing better. He presses very, very well. Elliott's obviously back, and Curtis Jones is Curtis Jones. I think he's really fitted into this slot system. So. Completely agree. I don't think we go shopping in January for a midfielder. I think priorities are perhaps defensively. But now you've got 6 high-level Liverpool midfielders. It is a horses for courses for me. You know, depending on who you play against, that's who you play. Tomorrow is going to be so interesting to see which midfield trio, you know, Arne Slot picks. What are your thoughts? And then Willem and Craig, again, the same for you, because you can make a case for any 6 of those. Maybe not Elliott, just purely on the basis that he's only just coming back. But, you know, him off the bench is going to be absolutely phenomenal. What an option that is. So, CT, who are your front three? Who are your midfield three tomorrow?
Yeah, we're in a good position now, aren't we? I think, like Willem said, you know, one of the glaring needs of the summer isn't as glaring. It's still a need, but I think Curtis Jones does deserve a shout out. I think he's playing arguably his most consistent football this season under Arne Slot, and it's given us a solid rotation option in terms of holding, swapping with Zobo. I would go. It's always a sort of a pick between Zobo and Curtis. I think Macca and Grav picked themselves in the first team, but I would go with, you know, the best guy to press. You know, I want to press the heck out of Tottenham, and you know they are a bit shaky on the ball, especially they want to play out from the back as well. We can get in behind, you know, we get in behind, and you know, Nunes could be, if he doesn't start, could be a nice game for him as a sub, even cause some chaos. But in terms of the midfield, you know, I think, you know, Curtis is rested, so that's interesting. Szoboszlai is rested as well, right? And neither played against Southampton. I would go with Szoboszlai. I would start him. He's going to need to cover a lot of area, a lot of pressing. So that'd be my choice.
I don't think it's a bad choice for whoever you choose, if I'm honest. I think it's one of those that actually you could make a case for any of them starting. And I didn't mean to leave out Endo because obviously, as we mentioned earlier, Endo's been great as well. I just do think he's a last 15-minute player to come on and hopefully see out, a 7-0 victory in the just in case in the last 10, 15 minutes. But yeah, I think you can make a case for any of them. Willem?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, I would have picked the same as Clem, but there's one thing that I kind of stuck on where it was like, I think he's gonna, like where you said you think they'll probably want the best press in midfield against Tottenham. So that's actually made me kind of change my mind now, and I think Maka won't start. So I think it'll be Gravenberch, Jones, and Szoboszlai. They've all been rested as well. Jones and Szoboszlai are literally for me the two. Like I think Szoboszlai is the best one, and Jones is right up here, but impressing as well because I think we even saw it last year with Klopp. The way he all of a sudden began to press the ball was next level. And I think with Maka, I mean, Maka did get his 60 minutes, so I do there's probably a more of a likelihood that he'll start. But now, actually, that I think of it more, I kind of also hope he does it where he'll do Gravenberch, Jones, and Szoboszlai because that will be help for Bissouma and Sarr. Or is Bissouma suspended? I don't remember.
No, I don't think so. I've got the preview here.
Cup.
I don't think so. Yeah, who's in the League Cup?
Suspended for the League Cup.
Okay. Then I've read that wrong, and then I thought it was for our game.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm just looking. Sorry, I was just looking now. It doesn't say anything on the preview that he's suspended. I'll have a look. But Craig, who your midfield three?
It's similar to TT. It's kind of like you're going to have Gravenberch and McAllister, aren't you? Because, like CT said, they just pick themselves. And I think what we'll do is Szoboszlai will get the nod, won't he? Because he's just some athlete, isn't he, Szoboszlai? There's a lot of criticism, isn't there, that final ball at the minute, overplaying it sometimes, trying to flick it in when he just needs to put his laces through it. But like Willem said, he's our best presser from midfield. And that United game the other day, because Spurs haven't exactly got the luxury we have we, in terms of our rotation, they're pretty much going to have to put that same team out again.
Mm.
And they were getting pressed heavily by United, who aren't pretty much known for their pressing, are they? And I think if you let Szoboszlai loose on them, Fraser Forster's head's going to explode, isn't it? He's not going to know what to do when he's got Szoboszlai running at him. And then you bring on Curtis, Zinedine Jones, don't you? You bring him on when we're maybe an hour gone. You can keep hold of the ball a little bit more. You can just pick them apart a little bit. So I think he'll go Szoboszlai, and then he'll bring Jones in probably on the hour.
I think as well we'll bring in Harvey Elliott to do exactly that thing, run like an absolute terrier and press that tiring leg and that system. And again, if it is Dragusin and Archie Gray at the back, then Liverpool really should be licking their lips because, on that 60 minutes, not only do you bring on Jones to control that midfield, not only do you bring on Elliott to press again, I would like to see Darwin Núñez come on after 60 minutes or Jota. Either way, I don't think it matters because Spurs play such a high line. You get in behind them. Gray and Dragusin, they're not quick, and that's gonna be the key for me. I think is get to 60 minutes, see where we're at, see where we assess. Those changes are just going to be, like a second weapon really coming on. So I think you can make a case for any of those three. I personally would start Maka. I'd go Grav, Mac, and Zob purely for that control to soak up that Spurs first half where they are really good. The first, was it the first 10, 15 minutes? They were already 3-0 up against, again, it's a poor Southampton team. But I think you need the control in the midfield first. And then you bring on Jones and then you bring on a Harvey Elliott to really press home the victory. And again, it reminds me a little bit, I'm a big rugby fan. It reminds me a little bit of when England had a very, very good rugby team and it was Eddie Jones who said they're not substitutes, they're finishers. And what England used to do is soak up the pressure and they used to do really, really well over the course of about 60 minutes. And then for the last 20, they'd bring on the likes of Danny Kerr, Chris Ashton, and they'd finish the game so strong, knowing that they would just run at the opposition who are already tired, they're already knackered. And it reminds me a little bit of that, to use that analogy. I know it's a different sport, but That's sort of what it reminds me of, to
Yeah.
bring on these players to really actually go for the jugular when they're down.
We've got the squad to do it now, haven't we? We've got, like you said before, the midfielders all bring something different to the table as well. It's not like we've got like the Milner Henderson situation where it's like runners and runners and runners. We've got different technicians. The fact that Harvey Elliott just looked amazing when he came on the other day. I think he'd probably be knocking on the door to start, but we don't want him to pick up another injury, especially at his age. And then you've got kind of like Gravenberg, who can just turn, can't he? He could turn past the bus, couldn't he, really? And then you've got McAllister, who is just everything. He doesn't do anything wrong, does he? He's just a perfect 8.99 out of 10 player. He'll just do everything nicely all the time. His finishing, his passing, his work ethic. We can do that. Spurs can't. And I think that's why they're going to put out that same 11 again. I think pressing's going to be important. And like you said before, controlling the game on the hours point's going to be important. It probably takes us to our next conversation of attack, because I think we're going to get a lot of chances. And that's why I'm happy Jota's back.
Yeah. He's phenomenal. Like, even the goal, I know that Darwin set him up, but even the goal, the shimmy, the drop of the shoulder, and it's not a rocket. It's just the
Giving the keeper the eyes.
Pass. Yeah, it's a pass into the net. It's not a rocket that's beating the goalkeeper. It's the movement that's beating the goalkeeper and sent him the wrong way. And he's brilliant. He's so good, and he's so unfortunate with injuries, because he's just so special for that Liverpool team. Talking of Jota, actually, he's actually only one goal away from 100 league goals as well. So he could very well get that against that Tottenham defence tomorrow. Tottenham, basically, though, they have to go for it. So I do think that their attack is going to be pretty hot, which is why Liverpool's do need to be as well. They've only kept one clean sheet in their past 23 Premier League home games, and that was a 4-0 win against Everton. So they've got to go out and score, and then that will create chances, as we say, on the hour mark for that attack. So CT, going back around to you, I suppose it's a little bit of a difficult conversation. Darwin, brilliant finish for me. I thought that was really calm and composed. You can say you can say whatever you want. Yes, the ball falls to him, lovely. He's still got to take it down for one, and he's still got to beat the goalkeeper for two. We've seen Darwin miss way easier chances than that. So it wasn't just a one-touch bang, as in like it's a back heel against Real Madrid. It's a lob. I put it into that category over the Brentford goalkeeper, which is one of my favourite goals that he scored. For me, that touch and then the finish was really composed, and we haven't seen sometimes that composure. So again, I'm wearing the jumper, but again, Jota or Nunez. I think it's a toss-up between the two. I don't want Jota to be running into the ground and getting injured. That being said, you could always put Diaz through the middle, and you could play Gakpo on the left and Salah on the right. So Liverpool, again, so many options in attack, which is brilliant. You've also got Chiesa now banging on the door. He's coming back, so you've got another 6 fighting for 3 positions. So who are your 3 tomorrow, CT? And then Willem and Craig will come back to you guys too.
Yeah, just on the Nunez one, I think the beauty of the EFL Cup is that, that's his comp at the moment, where he's a nailed-on starter, and I think he can use that to build some confidence. And I think Slot had some positive comments about him and that performance, having an assist and a goal in his last 2 outings, and sort of, boosting his numbers. But yeah, definitely, I think the key to the game on the weekend is scoring first. I think we all know Tottenham in a very shaky situation where, the crowd's going to be moaning and groaning if we score first. And I think I feel so confident if we score first, we win the game. We get 3 points, because they're going to have to play even more risky. They're going to have to come at us and put one on the board, and then we're just going to pick them apart. The only way I could see us not getting the full 3 points is if they score first, and then we have to get back into it. But I would go Lucho, Jota first, try to nick that early goal, and then Mo. And then I do think, just due to Jota's sort of, health situation, working his way back, I do think that Nunez will definitely get on as a substitute, and, hopefully he'll be full of energy, and he'll just run at them in probably the last, 30, 25 minutes.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's a great option. That being said, you could have Nunes run Archie Gray and drag us into the ground, only to have Jota come on as well. So it works both ways. And again, I don't think there's a wrong argument to be had. Willem, what are your thoughts? Because I've liked Diaz through the middle. I think he works really well through the middle. And Cody Gakpo is in the form of his life in the Liverpool shirt as well. So there's, again, cases there.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would like to see would be Gakpo, Jota, and Salah as a front three. But I think due to the fact that Diaz was also rested for the game and like didn't even make the subs bench for the Southampton game, I think he's probably a nailed on starter as well. And yeah, for me, if like I think with Jota, I would even have something like I'd rather they even give him the Leicester game off, but we need him for this one. Like, as in, because we need someone who we know can finish, like is gonna finish his chances. Like Clem said, score first, get the early goals in, to kind of let Tottenham get into their own heads. And yeah, I think for me, I've been pretty vocal about my stance on Nunes, but for quite some time now already. So like, for me, the debate isn't really new. But yeah, I would not be starting him. To put it that way, Jota is back now. Jota stays for me for this game at least, and yeah, maybe consider resting him for Leicester, but not for tomorrow.
Diaz is such a good presser. We were talking about Szoboszlai being a presser. You know, him as a focal head 9, he presses like Firmino presses. He's actually the only person that does remind me a little bit of Firmino in that false 9 role, who we've obviously seen since. Gakpo was earmarked to be that one. Gakpo's a left winger for me, and he's a great left winger as well through and through. But Diaz's press is probably something that especially Fraser Foster will struggle to deal with as well. So actually him through the middle might be a really good shout. Craig?
Games like this, isn't it, where you kind of like, where the frustrations come out about Nunes. And I know it's obviously something that splits the fan base and whatever, but you're probably frustrated either side of the coin, because in these games we're gonna, like Willem alluded to, we're gonna have to kill them off early. So the more chances we miss, like we've seen at White Hart Lane anyway, their fans get more up for it. They're usually a bit of a sleepy crowd anyway, aren't they, at White Hart Lane? But if we miss a couple of chances, or New White Hart Lane, they miss a kind of like couple of chances and their crowd get up for it. And I think if we start Nunes, he's just not that prolific guy, is he? And I know he scored that goal in the Carabao Cup, but even in that, yeah, he took it well, but the keeper also slipped when he was kind of like coming out to give him a little bit more space, didn't it? As opposed to someone who'd be right on them. And I just think that if you start Nunes and he misses a couple, like ultimately he does, it could kind of like just give them a little bit more emphasis to kind of like get a bit more up for it. I'd share up with Mitchie. I'd go Diaz down the middle. I think his pressing, and I think having Gakpo to the left hand side as well. He just looks cool all the time, doesn't he? Even when he got snapped the other day, he just got up and he just looked like he was ready to go on a night out. He's just so cool. And then Diaz, and then obviously you put Salah on the side, where then an hour goes by. We keep mentioning that hour point, but then you bring on Jota, who's a little bit more clinical. Maybe Nunes if the game needs running at, but it's probably not the kind of game for Nunes where he's going to get a lot of chances. I know that's stupid saying that, isn't it, for like an £80 million striker? But he's probably not. It's probably not the game you want him in when he's going to get a lot of chances. That he's going to get a lot of time to think. He's better Newcastle away when you're down to 10 men. And he just ball comes over quick, doesn't have to think, laces, and that's not going to be that game tomorrow. I think we're going to have a lot of the ball. I think we're going to have a lot of chances. And I think on the end of the chances, you'd sooner have Diaz, Salah, Gakpo, or who've I missed?
Jota.
Jota. I'm going to miss Jota. You'd sooner have any of them 4 getting on the end of it, wouldn't you? Yeah, I love Kaiser. I put a bet on him, didn't I, the other day? Didn't blooming start. So that wasn't my best. That wasn't my best moment of insight. But at the same time as well, yeah, Kaiser, when he was fit and firing at Juve, and it was a couple of years ago, clinical, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I love that little Meg he done the other day. So he started a little bit slow, didn't he, Chiesa?
In fairness, he could have scored as well. It was a good block. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
people are saying it might come wide. You'll never know. But, he's got a goal in him. I think that we'll see the best Chiesa after February. Obviously he's gone through the reconstruction of his body. Just absolutely drilled to the ground at Juve, never really got let to recover. And I do think we'll see the best of Chiesa in a Liverpool shirt after February. And I can't wait because, that nutmeg, he actually sent him for a kebab, didn't he? And it was great. Lovely. But again, that's the Chiesa that I was swearing at as an England fan. I do hate to say it. I know it's a Liverpool stream, so I do hate to say that. I apologise, but I don't really. He was that was the player in the Euro 2020 final/21 final where he had completely destroyed England. And he's still that player. He's just not fully recovered from all of his injuries. And if Liverpool can get half of that player, they've got one hell of an understudy for Mo Salah.
10 million quid.
Yeah.
Do you remember we were linked with him this summer before for 110 million?
Yeah. I literally wrote an article actually for LFC Transfer Room. I was on my way to the gym and we were linked like it was happening. And I literally was on my iPhone typing up this article, so excited. And I delayed going to the gym for like half hour because I was just like, I've got to get this article out. I've just got to get it. And honestly, like the hits on it was insane. So like the fan base was salivating over it. And it was one of those that you would have paid 110 million for that Chiesa. Like he was phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, to have him, even half of that player, I do think he would get, I think he'll still get to 80-90% of that player because Slot and the lads will do really well with him, I think. But even him coming on for the last 10, Salah coming off, let's save Mo's legs. We've got a quite congested fixture list coming up now. I thought he was really good as well. I had no complaints at all. I know that he was a bit slow to get started, but he was going to be.
Strength of our squad, though, compared to anyone else in the league. It's kind of like, even now, imagine under the Roy Hodgson era, if you would have kind of mentioned about bringing like Federico Chiesa on the bench for the last 10 minutes just to give him a bit of a run out. You wouldn't even dream of it, would you? So we're very lucky for the squad that we've got.
Even Klopp. We were looking at the likes of, without no shade thrown here, but you're looking at the likes of Divock Origi to come on and save you the game. Before that, we've had the likes of Barini, we've had the likes of Alamba, we've had the likes of Balotelli. during Liverpool's, Andre Voronin, Fernando Morientes. We've had so many players. Yeah, I mean Ox as well. As a player coming in, so. Yeah, that depth is mad. We talk about the six midfielders. Yeah. We've got six amazing attacking players as well. Talk about attacking players. Son Heung-min is trying to become the first Premier League player to score in 6 consecutive games against Liverpool. So, Craig, I know you said you mentioned a bet earlier. That might be one worth considering. He could be the first ever Premier League player to score against Liverpool in 6. Yeah.
Can't do it. Not having it. So, and at the same time as well, he's so likeable, isn't he, Son?
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
Like, just a really good guy. Amazing work ethic.
If not, you can make it like an insurance claim for yourself where like you put on the bet and then if we don't get a result, you've at least got on a bet.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. If he was up against like United or something, I'd put a bet on. I can't do it against
I'll do it from a corner. Against United, do it from a corner.
I never touch our games.
Did you see
I
that?
do it automatically for that reason.
What keeper runs out with as it's right next to his left arm and decides doing some weird kind of like samurai kind of like slice at the ball? Got absolutely found out. I do like Son. Kulusevski we were talking about before. I know just while we're kind of like talking about the attack, I think he'll have I know it's, I'll probably be banned from the stream next week, but I'm not really too bothered about him. His running gait, how he runs, I just don't think he's a player who just needs space. And what Arne Slot has given us is we don't give anyone space. You don't see many players running on the edge of the box there against us being able to fire a shot away, which I think him and Maddison, they're going to have no time or space to be able to kind of do what they normally do. Kulusevski plays well against teams that stand off him, and we're not going to do that.
And also, Kulu likes to. He starts out on the right and he drifts in. He's really good on that right, drifting into the 10, like what Harvey sometimes did when he played on the right hand side. But he's going to drift from Robertson to Virgil van Dijk. That's not really advisable, is it? and he's not good. He's not a winger, so I don't think he's going to hold the width like we sometimes see Sonny do. And like we, obviously Salah does. I know he cuts inside, obviously on that left boot, but he still never cuts in as a 10. Salah, like he's never really done that. So yeah, Kulu, if you give him time to have a look, he'll kill you. Same as Maddison. He's not quick. Maddison can't turn on a sixpence like Grav can. And again, if you give these two players time, they will find something. If you don't give them time, and I think if Maddison, I do think you say to whoever starts in that midfield, sit on him. Don't give him the time of day. I generally don't think he's Ange's favourite. He'll hook him after 50, 55 minutes. So again, it's keeping James Maddison quiet, which you can do. I think Kulusevski has a bit more flair. He has a bit more pace. If he's running at Robertson, he worries me more so that way than James Maddison does, because Maddison doesn't have pace. And yes, he's very nice and he's very tidy. But I do think if you sit on him, don't give him the creativity, press him, I do think he will struggle. But that being said, I'm sure we'll score a 40-yard banger tomorrow now I've said that. As we wind down here then, it's we've been going for 55 minutes. There's 2,500 of you into the chat. So thank you very, very, very much for joining us. The darts is on though. So after us, make sure you go and watch the darts. And obviously there's that massive, massive boxing main event. Tyson Fury against Alexander Usyk. So I'm sure you'll all go and watch that instead of seeing us four handsome blokes talk about football. But I know you're all excited. So everybody else in the chat as well, please do participate. We are going to go around with our predictions for tomorrow. And this could be really exciting because let's be honest, this could be anything. This game could be anything. I'm actually really excited. Normally I'm nervous for Liverpool games, but actually I'm quite excited because I think it's going to be an absolute stormer of a game. Clem, let's go to you. Just real quick, Mohamed Salah has been directly involved in 71% of Liverpool's Premier League goals. 71% in all of their goals in the Premier League, which is phenomenal. He's got 13 goals and 9 assists. He's going to be so key again tomorrow, isn't he? But your predictions and potentially just one goal scorer as well, if you may.
Yeah, you do. You knew where I was going with that. Salah, I think this game is tailor-made for him. I think he's going to be amongst it. So I'll go 3-1. I think we'll establish dominance early. We'll get 2 goals up. I think Spurs will try to get a goal in, but we'll kill it off with a 3rd goal. And I think Salah is definitely going to get a goal and hopefully an assist because he's my captain.
I know. Well, I knew it. I was literally going because Cunha. Obviously, I was waiting to hear back about his ban, and I had the funds to go Cunha to Isak, and I was like, I'll just wait. Oh no, Cunha's like, there's no ban. He'll destroy Leicester, and I was going to go Isak as my captain instead, but obviously I didn't. And he scored a hat-trick today, so hopefully Salah can bring back those points. Willem,
I saw like a scoreline and then predicting who would score, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just one goal scorer is fine.
Yeah, I think goal scorer. I actually think Szoboszlai will get one. And no reason behind it, just purely on vibes doing it. We'll give it some, and I think it's going to be one of them where it's like I'm doubting. I think it's going to be 4-2 or maybe even 5-2 Liverpool. I think it's going to be one of them where it's like we're going to leak a couple of goals, but they're going to definitely going to leak a few more goals than us.
We'll put it this way. The past 2 matches, so 2 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, has produced 14 goals, 7 for the away side and 7 for the home side. So again, it's going to, I just can see goals really. I really can. Spurs have scored a league high 9 goals in the opening 15 minutes. That's what we were saying earlier. They've scored 9 goals in 15 minutes. It is a league high. But the Reds are the only unbeaten away side in the Premier League this season as well. They've obviously got 5 wins and 2 draws. So, Craig, your prediction?
4-0 Gakpo.
God, are you going for a clean sheet?
I'm convinced they've got nothing. I felt nervous before this call, and now I feel much more in confidence, happy spirits. 4-0 Gakpo.
Nice. Yeah, good. I like it. I was 3-2 for me. I just think it's going to be a great game.
I'm going to get on Sky Best and see what 4-0 Gakpo is.
I reckon
and then he won't be starting.
Yeah, maybe wait for the lineups. Maybe wait for the lineups
That
first.
should be something I should do, isn't it? Maybe
Yeah.
I'll do that. There's words of wisdom in there.
Yeah, although to be fair, even if he's not starting, like we said, you know, Liverpool have the capability of destroying any team in the last 20 minutes. So, you know, even if he comes on, he's probably still just as... I guarantee a Liverpool sub scores tomorrow. I wish there was a market for that. I wish there was a market for that, you know, without naming them. But yeah, I could guarantee a Liverpool sub scores tomorrow. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to it. Honestly, I can't wait. I really think it's going to be a fantastic game. It's going to be one of the games of the season. And I'm not even going to say, oh, and now watch it be a 0-0, because it's not. It won't be. So it'll be a great game. Thank you all for joining us. It's our last, obviously, Saturday before Christmas. So we'll have an amazing Christmas, because, you know, we'll be back next Saturday, where hopefully the Reds are top of the tree. And we're looking forward to another Premier League game. But as for now and forever, thank you so much to all of my guests who make my life a lot easier. You don't just have to listen to me. Even when I drop out, these lads can pick it up. So thank you very much for doing that and for covering me, as always. So to Craig, to Will, to Clem, thanks all so much. You know, have a good Christmas. And to everyone as well in the Liverpool transfer room. And I suppose some Tottenham fans who might have tuned in. I do hope you have a good Christmas, but I also hope that you give us the gift of 3 points tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us, and have a good evening. Go and enjoy the darts. Go and enjoy the boxing. It's one hell of a night of sport, and I really hope that you enjoy your Christmas holidays. Take care. God bless. And as always, up the Reds.